everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, stressed out Christians who don't want to just survive and instead want to thrive. I'm Liz Fergs, and this is my husband, Evan.
Hi.
And we're so glad you guys are here with us today on this wonderful Tuesday.
Yep. And pretty exciting week, right? Scarcity week.
I'm excited about Scarcity Week. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So,
Not because you love scarcity so much, but because we get stuck in it and realizing that we're not in a scarce world is such a big, awesome idea. And it's so eye-opening. It's hard to see, though.
It's so life-changing to get out of scarcity mode.
Yeah.
And it's so common. You know, since it's Tuesday, we're going to talk about surrender. And I think it's easy for us to get stuck in scarcity mode when we're not surrendered. When we're like, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to go my own way.
I mean, we wouldn't make that decision if we didn't think we could do something. But we do have to, we understand, I think, on some level, we're very limited. No matter how much, gusto we throw into the problem.
Well, I think scarcity kind of triggers this cycle where, like for me, one of the things I say to myself is I'm not organized enough. Oh. And so then I try to remedy that by hanging onto my organization white knuckled, just like clutching it tighter and being like, I'm going to be even more organized. Really, I can do this, you know? And so then I make more charts and plan more
I've seen
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
More lists.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to be organized because I don't feel organized. It's not because I'm like, oh, I am so organized. I'm going to make a list.
So you're really grasping at straws.
Right. And so then I get stuck in that, like, I'm trying to make this work. Like the little kid that, those shape puzzles, I'm talking about with like the little shapes that you put in a
Yeah, there's like a cutout of a star
and
a rectangle and a half circle and stuff.
And you can watch 2-year-olds and they're trying to like put the wrong shape in, and the way that they do is they just pound on it with their fists and it's not going through.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes that's me,
Sure.
Because I'm like, no, I'm going to make this work. But it's because I'm in scarcity mode, so I have to make this work. Otherwise, it's reconfirming my belief about myself that I don't want to actually believe. I don't like being in scarcity mode. I don't like feeling like I'm not organized. So I try to prove that I am organized, and then I feel even less organized.
Sure. Yeah, that's tough. I feel like when I get in scarcity mode, I tend to go to freeze. I was trying to think of what that looks like for me, and I think that's what it is. I see a problem that seems too big, and I just kind of like take a step back. And I'm just like, okay, problem there. And I think I'm thinking about maybe what to do, but kind of pulling the trigger is like, you're like pulling the trigger all the time. You're like, okay, I'm going to make another list. I'm going to get another notebook. I'm going to write all this down. And I'm just more like, whew, okay. And just kind of, I think when I get into scarcity, that's what it is. It's a form of freeze where it's just like, it's hard to even put a foot in front of the other and be like, well, since I don't know what to do, or it doesn't feel like there's enough options or enough good options, or, it still comes back to the same stuff. Like there's some lack there where it's like, I don't have a good place to step into, so I'm just not going to step.
Do you think that's when you get hyper focused on the stuff you can control?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like
okay,
if I can...
Because I was like, I feel like that's the second half of this.
Sure.
Here. That's what I see in you.
Okay.
When you don't know what to do about something, you're like, let's go do the dishes.
Yeah,
or
that's always
whatever.
a good one. Yeah, or something more like that. Yeah, where you can see results right away. It feels like you did something. It feels like I did something, but
right.
Yeah, it's still scarcity though, because it's like either I'm not equipped to handle the situation, or maybe God's not going to provide a satisfactory answer, and so redirect attention. So that's a tough place
to be in.
Yeah.
You kind of get stuck having like the stress of the world on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. Because if God's not taking care of us and we have to take care of ourselves, which I think, for a lot of us, that's where we live in subconsciously, sometimes consciously too. I know for me, I lived there for a long time just because of my upbringing. It was so hard to trust anybody, and didn't know how to rely on anybody except for myself. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's tough. I just finished reading the book of Job, so I think now you always apply the thing you read most recently to everything.
Yes.
And at the end there, God gives him this whole long speech for like 2 or 3 or 4 chapters about how great God is and how powerless people are, and specifically Job. And then there's like a little 3 or 4 verse thing where Job's like, you're right. I confess everything and I trust
in
you.
dust and ashes.
And then God's like, okay, cool, moving on. And then Job is getting restored. And I feel like before that, Job, that was maybe, I don't know, maybe that's like he still had faith, but it was, there's something not right about it, evidently, because, well, yeah. So maybe that's the point. Like, the answer is, we know what the answer is. Let's surrender to God, acknowledge, like, because I'm not trusting, really, when I'm freezing and when you're making 100 lists, it's like, where's our faith at, right? Because we're doing this thing to cope, to deal with the overwhelming situation. And, when we get out of scarcity, we're trusting that God has a solution. Anyway, and Job was trying to figure out what was going on with him. And him and his friends were doing all this brainstorming. And it really just comes down to, do I trust God or not? And they were trying to prove that they trusted God by waxing eloquent about, whether Job's just or not. And it really is just about God's power, it seems like.
Yeah, I do love that Job is trying to get God to tell him the answers, and God never does.
Yeah.
And I think that's so often the way that life is. I don't know, I've been in a group lately where a lot of people have been really injured by the church, and they have some negative ideas of who God is and who Christians are, and I can definitely identify with that because I had a lot of those, that I had to work through myself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Do we work through it, or do we just camp out there forever?
Right. Right. And I think there's that whole other level, just like in the book of Job, where on one level, Job is losing everything and it looks awful and it seems like there's no reason for it. Mm-hmm. And then you go up a level and you see that,
you see the heavenly
Satan
conversation.
And you see the heavenly conversation. And I think, that's where we're looking at it from an earthly perspective and going, what the heck is going on here? Why did you allow this to happen? Why did you let this person at this church act not consistent with your character and your word? And
that, if that's really all, that's where we get all of our information from. We're going to be in scarcity mode because it's not adding up and it's not enough.
Right.
We need to get our thinking elevated, and that comes through surrender.
Yeah, we have to take that step back and just be like, what's God's character? Is he enough? Is he trustworthy?
Yeah. I was thinking another reason, or another way that I was just trying to think about, like, why am I getting in scarcity mode? And then I was like, well, when do I not? Because scarcity mode is like, oh, there's a problem, but it's usually like a slow burn problem. Like, it's this ongoing thing, this ongoing struggle of some kind, and it's just so overwhelming. But when there's like a crisis, like we've had a few car accidents, or the kids have got really injured a few times, like in those moments, I'm not freezing. I'm like, okay, let's respond, and let's do the right thing here, and let's take care of things. And I don't freeze there. And it seems like there's still a lack of faith there. It's that, it's still me. Maybe it is a certain kind of scarcity, because I think when it's an emergency like that, it's at the end of it, if I make a mistake, I can just be like, wow, I did my best. Everything happens so fast,
Yeah.
But if it's a slow burn, it's like I've got so much time to think about what the next step I'm going to take is. It's just like, oh my goodness, And but both ways, God is taking care of it and showing up. I wouldn't be able to react in the crisis in a good way or a bad way if I didn't have some other experiences that maybe I learned something, like a certain kind of first aid or something, and that's God's grace too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I don't know. I feel like when something really stressful happens, it's much easier for me to jump to, all right, Lord, I have to trust you for this, because there is zero chance of me figuring this out on my own.
I think that's what it is. Like, there's no time to worry about scarcity or not, and then I think we do we trust our faith more for some reason. But life's not usually like that. Life's more of the slow
Right.
burn stuff, and we get into that spot. At least, I mean, we've just been sharing how we do it anyway.
Yeah.
We need that surrender moment by moment.
Right. And I think we have to practice it during
Yeah.
times when it's not super stressful. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love a Sabbath so much, is because it forces you to disconnect a lot of that scarcity stuff. You have to say, okay, I don't feel like I have enough time, but I'm going to take an entire day and not do any of this stuff on my to-do list. And just trust that God's going to make up the difference. Same with tithing. I don't feel like I have enough money, but I'm just going to tithe anyway and trust that God makes up the difference. And we've seen him do both of those things in incredible ways. It allows us then, during crisis situations, to say, okay, I know God can take care of my time, can take care of my money, because we've seen him do it faithfully, every week.
Yeah, it's really amazing looking back on, like times where we're like, oh, we don't have enough money. And in that moment, it's like, and we're probably never going to have enough money.
Right.
Or we don't have enough time. And, I mean, think about when people have babies. I mean, you're not sleeping, and it's just a really trying
we were
time.
going to live there forever.
So I think that's a reassuring thing too. And we talk about that more on Fridays when we're talking about complete, but like not getting, going into that future, this imaginary future of like, well, scarcity lasts forever. I mean, there are no limits, but those, like you were just saying, we don't see the God's wisdom side of the limits, and so we have to trust.
All right.
I feel like that was that was a heavy one. Sheesh.
It's good though. I think it's helpful to kind of identify what you do in scarcity, so you're gonna have a little alarm in your brain going, "Oh, I'm getting into scarcity mode. Okay, what am I not trusting God for? And is that realistic?" I think every time I think, "Oh, we don't have enough money," I have a little reminder like, "Oh, right, I'm a trust fund child. God has trillions of dollars. Mm-hmm. He can provide me with money, or he can provide me with, whatever it is, a brand new car, whatever."
Yeah. And it takes practice, though. I mean, we spent the entire 2017 praying a lot about our money situation and the way we think about money, and it's made a difference. I mean, we're not millionaires, but the way we think about money and the way we our faith and our money are interacting is different now after a year of that.
Yeah, I really like it. Okay, we're running a little bit long, but I will tell you this super quick story that my daughter just pointed out. When my kids were really little, one of the things that they wanted was a Barbie Jeep.
Yeah, a little Power Wheels electric car thing.
And we were like, "There's no way, honey, we can't afford a Barbie Jeep, but you can ask God for a Barbie Jeep." And so they were probably, what? What do you think,
5
babe?
and
5
4 or
6
something.
7?
Yeah.
No, wait, not 7.
Yeah.
Less than 6.
Less than 6, definitely. I think maybe in like the 3-4 age range. Anyway, so they started praying about it, and I don't remember how many weeks it was after they started praying, but I passed by a yard sale and noticed there was a Barbie Jeep out there, and went over because I was like, well, maybe it won't, if it's, not too expensive, because I was thinking it would be like $50 or something, and it was $5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just one of those ways where God provided more than we could imagine.
Yeah, and that's not even a necessity, and it's just the wish of a child's heart. And in their faith, they're just like, oh, okay. And I mean, yeah, it's amazing to see the way the children approach God. I mean, we could learn a lot from that.
Right, because he can provide the time, the money, the energy, the health, the whatever it is that you feel like there's not enough of. God has enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a better place to end it than where we were at a couple minutes ago.
Yes. All right, we love you guys, and we're praying for you. Pick today. Is today going to be epic and awesome, or is it going to be miserable and stressful?
And if you choose B, take the quiz again.
Start over. Yeah. Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show and listening to the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it. And if you are not subscribed to our email list, go check that out on our website, epiceverydaynow.com, because we're sending out weekly updates now with, all the episodes and stuff. So you can make sure you didn't miss anything, as well as previews and little tidbits of information.
Yeah, join us. We'd love to keep in touch more.
Yep. Have an awesome Tuesday.
Talk to you later.